Hello, welcome to the weather update. It is September 28th, and of course, the big story is Hurricane Ian. This is a MODIS satellite image of Hurricane Ian making landfall in Florida, right around, and we're going to go right to where it made landfall, and you can see, according to NBC right here, you can see Hurricane Ian made landfall as a Category 4 storm. Maximum sustained winds were 150 miles an hour when it hit the southwest coast at the island of Cayo Costa near Fort Myers and Cape Coral. By Wednesday evening, there were 1.5 million power outages. And later it weakened to a Category 3 hurricane. But still, the storm has got a lot of damage. It's not over yet, and it's still going. So we have to talk about it. So let's get to the latest advisory from the National Hurricane Center on Ian. This is the 8 p.m. advisory from Hurricane Ian. Ian continuing to batter the Florida Peninsula with catastrophic storm surge, winds, and flooding. Yes, there was a record storm surge at Naples as well. And if you go, we'll cover all of that here. But as of 8 p.m., its location is 27.2 north, 81.7 west, about 30 miles northeast of Punta Gorda, Florida. It's moving so slowly, and it's about 95 miles south-southwest of Orlando, Florida. Maximum sustained winds are 115 miles an hour, and it's moving north-northeast at 8 miles an hour. And the minimum central pressure is 960 millibars to 8.35 inches. All right, so the center of Ian is expected to move across central Florida tonight and Thursday morning and emerge over the western Atlantic by late Thursday. Ian is forecast to turn northward on Friday and approach the northeastern Florida, Georgia, and South Carolina coasts. Maximum sustained winds have decreased to near 115 miles an hour with higher gusts. Ian is a Category 3 hurricane, still a Category 3, so it's weakening slowly. Further weakening is expected for the next day or so, but Ian could be near hurricane strength when it moves over the Florida East Coast tomorrow and when it approaches the northeastern Florida, Georgia, and South Carolina coasts on Friday. Hurricane force winds extend outward up to 50 miles from the center. That is large. And tropical storm force winds extend outward up to 175 miles from the center. A University of Florida Coastal Monitoring Program wind tower near Punta Gorda recently reported a sustained wind of 54 miles an hour with a gust to 91. And a private weather station in Joshua recently measured a wind gust of 89 miles an hour. And the minimum central pressure is 960 millibars, that's 28.35 inches. And I want to go over some of the statistics of Ian with you that I actually had posted, and we're going to look at them right now. I have posted them in my YouTube channel, so if you look into the community post, you'll see that. And we'll just share those statistics with you again because we want to actually bring this up on the screen here so you can see here some of these wind gusts here. This is from NBC here. And again, we'll just go into the this app here, and we will go and we'll put this on the screen for you. This is what we had. This is what I was able to capture right now. Strongest wind gusts 140 miles an hour at Cape Coral, Captiva 126 miles an hour, Punta Gorda Airport 124 miles an hour, Punta Gorda 115 miles an hour, Naples 112 miles an hour, and Grove City 110 miles an hour. And if we go look at the rainfall totals here, we will pull that up on the screen too. And you will see here, those are your rainfall totals. Look at that, Punta Gorda. It's still raining there too, 17.29. Over a foot at Northport. Lehigh Acres, 14.17 inches. So you're getting the water, not only the freshwater flood, the saltwater flooding from the Gulf with the storm surge, but you're also getting the freshwater flooding from the rainfall. So this makes the storm very dangerous. All right. So let's go to the latest chart here on the hurricane here, and you will see here that it's going to stay a hurricane, and then they think it'll weaken to a high-end tropical storm when it exits the coast, but it's going to take all day tomorrow, literally, just to get to the coast, or it's going to take to the afternoon tomorrow, and then it's going to reemerge and then it could strengthen again once it's back out over the water and landfall again as a hurricane somewhere in Georgia or South Carolina. So this is just unbelievable, and it's really is something to see. This is definitely one of the worst storms on record to hit the United States. So let's go take a look at the latest satellite loop of Ian here, and you'll see here you go, you get to see it make landfall. You can see it starting to weaken a little bit, and the eye was never crystal clear, but it's definitely well defined enough. But that eye wall was huge, and a lot of areas got lashed, particularly Fort Myers. And you can see now it is now over the center of Florida, and it is approaching Orlando as we speak. So we're gonna have to look at the conditions in Orlando as well. If we can find any conditions in Orlando, we're gonna look at the observations out of Orlando in a minute. But that's one of the satellite images there from Ian. But I want to actually look at a few more here. So let's go look at the southeast. And we'll go to this, and we will go and we will increase this to so you get to see the last 96 frames here of this. So there you go. This is a nice big view of Ian right here. You get to see here. You can see it starting to weaken now, losing its circulation. Look at how well defined that was earlier on, though, when it came in there. Really well defined. Well, now it's starting to get, you can see it's over the land, so it's definitely weakening. But still, that is remarkable. That is a remarkable satellite image of it. And look at these thunderstorms firing up in the outer bands. That was an issue last night. We had a number of tornadoes that touched down, including one that affected somebody I know who, unfortunately, luckily his house was able to withstand it. But there were no trees down. His power went out. The FBO was quick to get it back. Unfortunately, their car was also damaged from the tornado that hit their area. You could see, though, this is common, especially on the east side of these storms, where you get these thunderstorms that produce these tornadoes. Let's see if I can go back just a little more here, 120. So we can go back a little more and just take a look at this, because this, you could see how big the storm is, because look at it. It almost covers almost all of Florida. So this is not a small storm. And it was small in the beginning, and then it grew in size. And you can see, because of its size, more areas are getting affected. And you can still see the convection popping up, even as it moved inland. You could still see that convection popping up, which is pretty impressive when you think about it. Let's see if we can find some other types of satellite imagery here. They should have a enhanced IR. Let's see if they do have an enhanced IR. I don't know if they do, like the other site does. Tidbits. I don't know if they actually have one like that. I'm sure it is somewhere around there, but they don't really have the enhanced. They have sandwich RGB, but I don't think they have this. This is not even loading. So let's see. This kind of shows you a little bit of a different thing. So this kind of gives you that enhanced look there. Yeah, this will give you that enhanced look, so you get an idea of what it looks like there. You can see the big eye, but look, there's still pops of convection there. Even as it goes in, you still see the pops of convection. So this thing is still going quite a bit here. And if we look at the lightning tracker as well, which is what we're going to do as well, we'll take a look and we'll see how much lightning is going on. There's still some lightning occurring. Looks like some lightning strikes over Orlando, but look at the lightning in these feeder bands here. Pretty impressive. Pretty impressive. So we still got the lightning now. Let's go and look at the latest observations. So we'll go to the weather and hazards map so we can get some of these observations and show you what's going on here. Let me just turn the shading down a little bit, because it's hard to see the cities with the shading so deep like that. So here we go. Here are the observations across the area. And you'll see still that St. Petersburg area, Tampa, St. Petersburg, winds gusting into the 50s. This is where it made the landfall further down over here. And it looks like a lot of the weather stations have been knocked offline. Here's one that's reporting. So Punta Gorda, here we go. So Punta Gorda, this is where some of the worst hit. And we're going to take a look at some of the observations right now so you get an idea. It looks like they did get knocked offline for a moment, but you can see some of the wind gusts being reported here up there. And trust me, they were higher than that in a lot of other areas as well. Now, taking it northeast here into this area, because this is the area that's now getting under attack by it here. With 63-mile-an-hour wind gust in Sebring, Florida. I'm trying to find Orlando in here. It's still hard to see with the shit. Did it deepen the shading again? That shading is so deep, and it's so hard to see the cities because they let's see, this is Orlando over here. So Orlando is over here. Let's see what Orlando is dealing with. All right, well, south side of town here, where the airport's got a north-northeast wind at 35, gusting to 47. So the conditions are deteriorating there. And these are just the stations that are online. A lot of them have been knocked off. And again, even if you look even into the other parts of Florida, like the East Coast here, Vera Beach has got gusts up to 45. Here's a 69-mile-an-hour wind gust at Okeechobee. Southeast wind at 43, gusting to 69. So the whole state is being affected by this. I mean, even if you're in the South Florida, Miami area here, you're dealing with strong winds, gusting up into the 30s, and it is creating some power outages still. And we're going to get to that in, I guess, next. So let's go take a look at the power outage situation across Florida. So we'll go to poweroutage.us, which should be in here somewhere. Here we go. So Florida, we now have 1,958,512. Actually, it's 1,958,512. That is a big number for Florida. That is a big number. And you can see where most of the outages are. They're in the area where the worst of the storm hit, Charlotte. You see a lot of these areas here are nearly almost everybody's lost power. We don't know if there's been transmission line damage or not. They're not going to be able to assess this until maybe later tomorrow, until the conditions calm down. You can see a lot of areas, though, have nearly complete blackouts in these areas here. And Tampa also now being affected. Hillsborough. We have Polk County now being affected by these power outages as well. East Coast still has power outages. Palm Beach County still has 5,330. Broward, 7,212. Miami-Dade, 12,970. So it's affecting the whole state. You have power outages in Seminole, Volusia as well. You see where those darker reds are. That's where it's a complete, nearly complete blackout in these areas here. And you can see there's Lee County there. It looks like that's one of the hardest hit. Lee and Charlotte County, that's where around Fort Myers area right there that got hit very hard. And these actually list the amount out on each utility here. So they have different. They have many. FPL obviously is the biggest utility. You also have Tampa Electric, which also has quite a few outages as well. So it'll be interesting to see how their transmission infrastructure held up, because a lot of those poles are concrete and metal. So we'll have to see if they held up to those winds or not as far as the transmission lines go. You can see DeSoto. Yeah, DeSoto is completely out. They have 100% outage right there. It's incredible to see all this damage taking place. And my prayers go out to everybody in Florida right now. It's really a very bad situation here. The Orlando Sentinel says it winds down to a Category 2. I don't have that from the Hurricane Center yet. You can see here all the again, and then they got to watch out. Beach is closed, obviously. But if we go and we look at the weather and hazards map, we'll show you where the warnings are in place. So we still have the hurricane warning in effect for Tampa. This whole area goes from Tampa down to Cape Coral. And this goes inland into, I think Orlando is in a hurricane warning now too, as well. They're in a hurricane warning. Flood warning. We also have flood emergency statements as well because of the flooding going on that we have here. So if we go and we look at Hurricane Ian here, and just the latest here, you'll see flight to Hurricane Ian, worst I've ever been on since a Hurricane Hunter. We could just look at some of the pictures here that we have coming in. Well, it's mostly just pictures, the satellite pictures. But there has been some pictures of some of the flooding going on. Here's from a Tampa traffic light yanked off. This traffic light crashed down here. But there's a much worse situation than that. In some of these cities here, if we go and we look at Fort Myers, for instance, Myers, and that's one of the areas that got really hit very hard. You can see the flooding going on here. There's flooding. There's another image of the flooding here. That's what we're talking. That's the storm surge right there, Fort Myers. All right, that's the storm surge flooding right there. It's been catastrophic, and at the same time, the winds on the offshore winds to the north of the storm actually forced water out of places like in Tampa. Believe it or not, the water actually got forced out of the bay. Drains water across Tampa. So this is actually Tampa Bay. Look at that. The water actually got drained from the bay. So that is incredible right there. So that just shows you the kind of power that we're talking about here with this storm. And it really is incredible. So we will also look at the radar here. And this is what it did to Cuba, by the way. So this is the story from AccuWeather. Cuba is trying to get its power grid back because the storm did very bad damage to the power grid in Cuba. So this storm here is unbelievable. And then, of course, they're still recovering from Fiona up in Nova Scotia. Parts of Florida decimated as Hurricane Ian loses intensity and treks north. So it says here Hurricane Ian was downgraded to a Category 2 with a maximum sustained wind of 105 miles an hour. So, but still, the station at Punta Gorda Airport measured a wind gust of 109 just before 8 p.m. So still, that's the kind of winds you're dealing with right now in Florida, and it's just a very, very bad situation for Florida right now. And our prayers go out to them as they deal with this terrible natural disaster. And as far as our weather goes, I guess we'll get to that. It feels like I want to go to tidbits. I do want to go to tidbits. So let's. I didn't even pull up tidbits on the screen. So I got to do that. So let's take a look at the loop for Ian here. This is the other loop for Ian here. You still see that convection going. You got to remember, Florida is not as flat. It's kind of damp and wet, and you have the ocean on both sides, so this thing still has access to energy. Even though it's overland and it's weakening, it's not going to weaken all that much, and that's the problem that we're facing. And all this is moving into the Orlando area, or maybe just south of Orlando. I think Orlando was like over here, so I'll have to see what happens. It might wind up just going south. Tampa dodged the bullet. They didn't get the worst of it. That could have, been Tampa. It was Fort Myers that got hit the hardest, obviously, with this. So obviously, let's go look at the models. And yeah, look at this. They're kind of all over the place again, with where this thing could, when it reemerges, where it's going to make landfall. It could be as far south as Georgia, and it could be as far north as the South Carolina-North Carolina border that are going to be affected. And then it goes in, rains itself out, and there's probably going to be flooding in the inland Carolina areas and in the mountains, in the Appalachians, before it winds up going out to sea and to the south of us. Right now, that's what it looked like on the last GFS run here. These are the GEPS ensembles, by the way. All right. So if we look at the intensity guidance here, you'll see, look, it's a slow weakening here. And several models don't even weaken it to a tropical storm. So it's a slow weakening, and honestly, I think when it reemerges, if it does weaken to a tropical storm, I think it's going to be a hurricane again once it gets back out over the water. It's just too much energy, and Florida's not big enough to dissipate it. All right. So let's get to our weather now, and let's go to our weather, and we will move this up to our area. And we'll take a look at the day we had in our area, which was a lot nicer, obviously. Sun and then some afternoon clouds. So if we look at the satellite loop, you'll see that we had clear skies in the morning, and then we had some of those instability clouds in the afternoon. And that cloud shield you see there, yeah, that's all the way from Ian. That's right. You'll see that we did have some cumulus pop up in the early afternoon hours, so it wasn't clear all day, but it was still very, very nice out. And I did manage to get to the Pine Barrens. No, I didn't take a video with everything going on, but I will show you the pictures nonetheless of the pines and the blue sky. You can see the clouds kind of built in toward the afternoon there. And then they got bigger as the afternoon went on, and even bigger. And then, yeah, I was also at Southern's Pond as well. And, yeah, that's a nice little lake there. And you can see the clouds kind of building, but still plenty of blue sky. Really pretty. And this was the cirrus clouds moving in from Ian. All right, so there you go. There they were in the sky. Another look at them. You could see them in the sky there. And then also the sunset, which was absolutely beautiful as well. with those serious clouds from Ian, and we'll have to watch and see how much of that gets into our area for tomorrow. We actually have a cold front moving through. So if we are to look at the WPC, let's go to the Weather Prediction Center here. You'll see there's that cold front that's passing through tonight. That's why they had the extra clouds. That might help to push some of those clouds from Ian to the south. All right. So let's go, and we'll go look at the current observations too. I got to do that as well. So, yeah, here we go. So we are generally in the mid-60s out there. Over 62 being reported in Car Place over in my alley. It's still like 68. I tell you, it's just so hot here. Now, if you're out east, looks like some radiational cooling happening. Mid-50s out there. So a little cooler out there. Though these clouds may put a lid on it. You can see the city hanging on to the mid and upper 60s. That's what I'm dealing with. And let's see what New Jersey is dealing with right now. Mid-50s. All right, so yeah, a lot cooler in Jersey. This part of Nassau County is just warm. But I think it's because of the cloud cover. You can see dew points generally around 50 degrees. But we'll have much drier air coming in tomorrow. So 58 with a dew point of 52 at Islip and Ronkonkoma. Islip Airport in Ronkonkoma. I wish they'd call it the Ronkonkoma Airport, but so I just refer to it as Ronkonkoma. So this is what the day looked like today. You'll see here dew points in the mid-40s to upper 40s. We had some clear skies, and then the clouds we had a few clouds here and there, and then they kind of came in a little later on in the afternoon and kind of, gave us some partly cloudy skies. So let's go look at our highs and lows today. We'll start with the lows first, and look at this big spread in the lows. Got nice and cool last night, down to 51, even in Carl Place. And again, my alley probably only got down to like maybe the mid-50s, maybe 50 for a low in Ronkonkoma, 48. So lows around 50 degrees, but 48 at Shirley. But look at West Hampton; it got down to 37 last night, mid-40s out east there. And then the city, obviously, mid-50s. So I'm kind of like got the same weather as the city has here in the alley from hell. Mid-40s for lows in Jersey. So it did cool off there as well. And some areas, oh, yeah, this one got really cold. Tabernacle, in the heart of the Pine Barrens there. 36 actually managed to beat West Hampton. Wow. So let's go to the highs now. Get the highs on the screen here as they slowly load. Now, if you live elsewhere in Mineola, it can be cool. I mean, you can walk around Mineola into the nicer section. That's actually much cooler over there. For those living over there, you got it. You got a nice area. Let's I'm trouble getting those highs to load. I'd like to get the highs to load. All right, here we are. So highs generally we're having some problems. As usual, these weather sites are getting a lot of traffic. You can see highs generally around 70. So I think that's fairly close to normal. If we go look at the statistics, the climate statistics for our area for today, which we'll go do right now, take a look at our climate statistics for Islip, and you'll see the high was 72, the normal high 71. So fairly close to normal. Fairly close to normal today. So let's go back to the models here, and we'll go back, and we're going to take a look now at what's going to be happening with Ian now going forward. Obviously, let's go to the southeast. And here we go. So this is Ian right here looking at the GFS, and you'll see it tracks across the middle of Florida, takes its sweet time, dumping lots of rain, and eventually reemerges tomorrow night off the Florida East Coast, probably around Daytona Beach. And it slowly goes back over the ocean, and you can see it deepening again. So that's why I think it's going to strengthen and become another hurricane again. And as we get into Friday, you'll see here that it makes another landfall in South Carolina or Georgia, perhaps. That's what the GFS is saying. And then it will dump more rain in those areas. So if we look at the total accumulated precip here, which we're going to do here, you'll see again that area where you're going to get over a foot of rain. Orlando, maybe the winds won't be as strong, but you're going to get tons of rain. And even into Carolina, you're going to see 3 to as much as 7 inches of rain, perhaps, into South Carolina, even parts of North Carolina. All right. So let's now go to the HRRR model, which is a higher resolution model. And here's the HRRR model. And again, you see it just crawls. Actually, the HRRR is actually a little faster. So here we have a little disagreement again. The HRRR wants to be faster with this and actually move this offshore by tomorrow, by midday tomorrow. It reemerges off the Daytona Beach, and then the track is a little more northerly. It landfalls more into northern South Carolina and probably like Myrtle Beach area, I guess, and landfalls over there, right? And you can still see those tight isobars there. So if we look at the total rainfall here, similar agreement on that foot of rain, but maybe because it moves a little faster, it spares any more rainfall for maybe Orlando, and it concentrates it more on the east coast of Florida. But you can still see the rainfall heavy into South Carolina and North Carolina as well. So let's go now look at the winds. This will show the wind field as it reemerges. So once it reemerges out over the ocean, look at what winds up happening. It looks like it looks like it's trying to re-strengthen it again, or at least hold on to its strength. And honestly, I could see it being a hurricane when it makes that landfall on Friday. All right. Obviously, it's going to landfall sooner with the HRRR because it is a quicker model. Let's go now back to the GFS here. GFS is you can see how it strengthens it again by the time it makes landfall. Right. You can see that strengthening there. Now I want to go look at the European model. That'll be the next model. We'll look at the model that really kind of had this right all along with that right-hand turn there and crawling. The European is a little slower, and I think the HRRR is too quick to move this. And you can see it's slower, and it's a little more to the left. So it actually, European takes it more into that South Carolina, Georgia area. All right. But still, that second landfall will be sometime on Friday afternoon. And I'm sure the rainfall patterns will be very similar on this European model as well. Now let's go look at the winds. And the winds, you see when it reemerges, look at it, it actually tries to get stronger again. So that's what I'm thinking. We might be dealing with a Category 1 hurricane when it makes that second landfall. The other thing, of course, is that the storm surge issues aren't just going to be an issue for Florida. They will also be an issue for, and you can see the Florida East Coast is going to have to deal with them too. The northern part of the East Coast, Jacksonville, up to the Atlanta, like Savannah area, and into Southern Carolina. They're going to have to deal with South Carolina. They're going to have to deal with the storm surge as well with this thing. So yeah, that is something that this is not over yet. This is going to keep doing damage until Friday. All right, and then finally, when it gets inland and it starts to finally weaken in the mountains, where it's going to dump more rain and cause more problems, that's when we can finally say Ian is finally over. But this is a long duration disaster because again, there's very weak steering currents, and we've got this big high. So if we go and we look and we take this out and we look at the European here, which we will do here. You see that big high there over us, and that's kind of holding it in place and slowing it down. So that's the issue. And we're going to be dealing with some of the winds from that grade. Now, this is the European model. So we're dry Friday. The the European actually gives us a rainy Saturday. All right, this is the European. However, the GFS, there's still disagreement on how much of the effects we're going to feel. GFS gives us a little bit of rain Saturday, and then another high kind of builds in on Sunday and pushes it back down again. So yeah, that's quite. We'll have to see exactly how this all works. All right, but let's go and we'll look at our weather now, and we'll show you. We'll just go with the GFS already at this point because we're going to be going to the longer range anyway. So let's go look at the dew points and wind flows here, and you'll see the winds become northerly tonight. That's going to drop the dew points tomorrow a little bit. Drier air, north to northeast winds, dew points in the probably low to mid 40s, so somewhat drier. But you see the wind becoming northeast, and then Friday we've got more of an east-northeast flow. And this is Ian here, the moisture from it and the humid air. However, we may not see any of that humid air. Here we are Saturday. You see the east winds getting a little stronger, but then look what happens. That high builds down. This is going to create a strong easterly flow on Sunday, so we may still have to deal with some coastal flooding for that. And here's Monday. Again, you're still dealing with that easterly flow. We do avoid that warm air. All right, temperatures for your tomorrow. Obviously tonight, May not drop as much with the clouds. We'll have to see what happens. Tomorrow, it will be cooler than today. A little bit below normal, with highs in the mid to upper 60s. Tomorrow night will be quite cool, probably lows in the 50s, low 50s, probably maybe around 50 and 40s, and probably 30s in some of the Pine Barrens areas. Of course, we don't know about the alley. It could be warmer than that. And for Friday, we've got cooler temperatures, more clouds. We're going to be Friday's going to be kind of an increasing clouds kind of day with temperatures generally in the low to mid 60s, and that's it. And then cool on Saturday, and then this is the rain cool air. So this is from the rain that would be over us at this time on Saturday. All right, but there's still a lot of uncertainty, so I don't want to spend too much time on that. Let's go and look at the cloud situation. So here is the model, and you can see that cloud shield from you gets pushed just to the south tomorrow. So I think Long Island gets a mostly sunny day, but then it comes back at us on Friday again. All right, and then we have to watch for the rain on Saturday, but that is a ways out, and I'm not even going to speculate at this point. Looking at the RGM, you see that cloud shield gets pushed to the south. So I think Long Island sees mostly sunny conditions, at least part of the day, at least in the morning, but then we'll have to see maybe some of that cirrus in the afternoon, perhaps. And then as we have Friday, we'll be having that cirrus shield to the south, eventually working its way north, so the clouds kind of thicken. And they'll be pretty clouds. You know, the hurricane cirruses are very pretty and probably give some nice sunsets. And then for Saturday, that's when we'll be dealing with the rain chances. At least that's what it looks like right now. Things could change and it could go back. Originally it was saying Sunday, Monday. There's just too many factors at play, too many little variables to see with the spread in the models, and that leads to a tremendous amount of uncertainty. There's another model we could use for the skies. That's the high resolution GFS. But of course, I don't have enough of that in, and that's a 12Z run, and I'm not even going to look at that because it's already old. There's too many variables. There's too many changes going on. We can look at the NAM3, which also shows the skies, and you'll see that cirrus, which just on the fringe of it. So we'll have to see if we can push it far enough to the south. I'm not sure what's going to happen tomorrow with the skies, if we will have a nice clear sky or we'll have some of the cirrus around, but should expect plenty of sunshine, but definitely less sunshine on your Friday. All right. And we'll just go back to that MODIS satellite here, and there is Ian, and you can see those clouds stretching all the way up. And actually, what I want to do, we'll leave you with this shot here on the satellite. Let's go to, and again, this is the warning cone here, but I want to go to the CONUS view here on this. And this is, again, we're having issues with the satellite. It sometimes goes down, and we may not be able to get that CONUS view for you. It looks like, here we go. All right, so let's go to the CONUS view here so you can take a look and show you again. There's Ian. So there's the clouds from Ian literally getting pulled up right there by the jet stream. So that's getting caught up in the upper air currents right there. All right, so there you go. That kind of gives you an idea of how big this thing is. Look at the feeder band stretching all the way still into parts of Cuba. So Bahamas getting into it, and there's some nasty storms in this feeder band too, by the way. So that is going to wrap up this weather update. Pray for Florida. It's going to be a very long road to recovery for a lot of these areas. This is definitely one of the worst natural disasters to ever hit the state. And unfortunately, we're going to see more scenes like this as we deal with a warming world. So that is going to wrap up this weather update. Have a good night, and thank you for watching.